It's high and yes, I'm gonna just randomly talk about this shit and I don't know why. So just gonna play chess cause like I'm so trash at it, but then I'm gonna like actually play. So let's start with I just gonna I don't know if I'm gonna just play that shit. Do some shit. Yeah, get it. Thank you. So just going to play some shitty gambits. Yeah, I'm dead. Oh fuck. I just hate this shit so much. That I needed to start playing it. So start by boom. Wait, wait, can I go here? Here, here, and fuck. I just hate this game so much. Going to be dissing this game all the time, I think. Because there's no worse game than chess. Sorry, chess lovers, but I just hate it. Minus rook. Minus fucking chess. Fuck this. You can see everything. Yay. Yay. I love this. So I'm just going to open my Discord. No, don't look at it. I'm just going to call my friend and just get talking this here. No update. No update. Okay, so you can see maybe. I don't want updates. Fuck. So should I do something? Hey, anyone in chat? Please. Anyone? Bruh. Hell nah. So I'm just gonna. Yeah, this is my. If you wanna see my files, okay, just go do this. Kinda. Okay, so I can see it. Oh. Can you see it? You should not. If yeah, I'm just dumb. So, just going to find downloads and now we should see it. So I got here I got this banger. I just needed to okay. Then I have the thumbnail. Yes, it's masterpiece, bro. Oh, it's darker. Am I just dumb? There is Sigma and Rizzler and Sigma. I got everything. Yeah, and then I got YouTube. Yay, where I can see my own stream and I'm gonna just fuck off. Wait, what if I just could react for some shit? Okay. Art of Blade. Okay. Just going to look for. I just was, you don't know it. I'm like GD, GD creator, and okay, just going to look at this.
You're one sentence away from launching your website
No,
with Base
I hate
44.
this.
Since the beginning of the internet, there's never
I
been
hate
such a fun,
it.
fast, and intelligent way.
Thank you to Radio Code for supporting PBS. They say fusion is 50 years away, and they've been saying that for 50 years. But if so, why are billions suddenly being pumped into fusion startups? Well, to train LLMs. But there's a
I don't
reason
understand
that the
anything.
techno brats are bullish on fusion in particular. The fact is, the technological challenges have been chipped away at, and in many cases solved over the past decades. And there's really no one deal-breaker difficulty remaining.
I don't understand it. I just know.
One of the final challenges is deciding on the physical vessel to contain our mini artificial stars. And we have some pretty sci-fi options that are nearly ready to go.
Cool intro.
Hey everyone, quick update before we start. We've observed that the YouTube algorithm isn't promoting our episodes within the community as much, and so we're conducting an experiment. Over the next few episodes, we'll test whether increasing likes and comments impacts sharing. If you'd like to be a data point in this experiment, hit like and or leave a comment. And if you're new and enjoying this, subscribe and please press the bell. We'll analyze the results and report back after a few episodes. Solar power is the ultimate in clean energy, and it's delicious when you can get it, which isn't everywhere all the time. But solar power is just fusion power that's happening far away. Slam hydrogen nuclei together into helium, and a bit of the original mass is converted into energy.
Okay.
In the core of the
I
sun,
start
that energy
understanding.
mostly radiates into empty space, with a minuscule fraction hitting the Earth and powering nearly all of life. A minuscular fraction hits our solar panels, and only in, well, sunny places and times. There's a limit to how far we can scale solar energy collection until we build our Dyson sphere. But why build a cage around the star?
I don't know if you know what's Dyson sphere. It's just like some shit where it's gonna be all around the sun, and it's gonna just create lots of the energy, and like I don't understand it, but my friend just made a drawing of it and was just looking for it for an hour, and it's really cool, bro.
If you can instead build a star inside a cage. What if we can run mini suns right here on the surface of the Earth? And that's the goal of the artificial fusion reactor. Today, I want to talk about a specific aspect of fusion, and that's how to confine hydrogen fusion in a way that leads to a net energy output.
Okay.
I want to talk about how to bottle a star. I'm going to reference ITER a lot, that's the European Fusion Experiment, and I'll refer to it because it's the largest and arguably the most advanced, and is projected to achieve first plasma this year. I do want to emphasize though that there's a lot of exciting stuff in recent years from smaller efforts, both national programs and increasingly private endeavours. We'll come back to some of the more speculative advances
Okay,
another time.
it's cool.
Let's start by taking whatever lessons we can from the Sun. Our home star sustains a steady rate of fusion for billions of years because it confines its nuclear inferno by crushing it under the weight of 100,000 Earths. Single
Hell no. No, it started the shit I don't understand.
protons, hydrogen nuclei, are fused in a series of steps to produce helium-4 plus a lot of energy. The Sun's proton-proton
Wait, I
chain runs
understand
at
it.
something like 100 million Earth atmospheres of pressure and over 15 million Kelvin temperature. generating the equivalent
Okay.
of 20 million times the entire world's nuclear arsenal in energy every second. So, the sun both crams photons together and gets them
So-
moving.
Just fusion. So, if I understand right, prove me wrong. Fusion is meant to just. So, if I understand it right, the fusion is made to like create more energy samely, or just like same amount of energy and just easily. Like, I didn't understand this, but I think that both would be really good. But yeah.
Really fast in order to get them to stick. We need to do the same. We need to both compress and heat our nuclei. And the resulting fusion needs to output more energy than we use to reach that state. One big efficiency upgrade is to focus on the most energy-rich
Okay.
fusion reactions. Rather than going all the way to helium from single protons like the sun does, we can fuse heavy hydrogen isotopes like deuterium and tritium. Now, the
Okay.
sun can achieve net energy gain starting with protons because of the incredible densities it reaches. We can never achieve those densities, so even with heavy isotope fusion, we have to compensate with a lot higher temperatures. In fact, something like 100 times the temperature of the core of the sun. There is no material in the universe that wouldn't be instantly vaporized at the temperatures needed for fusion. So how are we supposed to even contain our fusion reaction, let alone crush it to the needed pressures? Well, there are two broad approaches: inertial confinement
Okay.
and magnetic confinement. Inertial confinement attempts to slam nuclei together with
Okay.
some sort of shock.
Okay.
In 2022, the National Ignition Facility achieved net energy output for the first time by forcing fuel together with lasers. But it's not the first inertial confinement approach to succeed. The hydrogen bomb is a type of inertial confinement where the thing slamming nuclei together is a fission bomb, an old school atomic explosion. The latter is rather uncontrolled and so not suitable for sustained energy production. But even controlled inertial confinement approaches have the issue of rather bursty energy output, and so are generally not thought to be the most likely option for our first generation commercial fusion reactors. Those are more likely to be magnetic confinement reactors.
What does it mean?
The hydrogen in a reactor is so hot that positively charged nuclei are stripped of their negatively charged electrons, making a plasma of electrically charged particles
Okay.
that can be manipulated by magnetic fields.
Wait,
These fields are created by powerful electromagnets
that
made
actually
from
makes-
superconductors.
that
and those-
actually makes a lot of sense. Even though I don't actually understand it, it actually makes a lot of
Superconductors
sense.
have
But the problem is that, like, I'm 12, bruh, and I don't, like, just, like, fuck my voice. I just don't.
to be equal to near absolute zero. So you have this center of a star hot plasma.
We can't reach absolute zero, but we can reach near absolute zero, but we can't reach absolute zero. So, wait, how do they say it in this shit? This shit?
Equal to near absolute zero.
Near. Okay.
So you have this center of a star hot plasma mere meters away from matter that's colder than intergalactic space.
Okay.
So to bottle our star, we have to create the largest temperature gradient in the known universe, which is, I guess, something to be proud of all on its own. Magnetic confinement reactors work by squeezing the plasma so it flows around a torus, and then compressing the torus with the magnetic field and heating it by blasting it with energy via particle beams or EM waves until
That's so
fusion
cool.
is achieved. This has to be done cleverly, because if you just run plasma in a circle, it leads to various instabilities that are fatal for your plasma and perhaps for your reactor. The leading solutions for stable toroidal plasma
Okay.
confinement are the tokamak and the stellarator. The details of their differences aren't too important here, but tokamaks are more widely used, for example, by ITER, so I'll cover these just briefly. Tokamaks use 3 systems of magnets. The first system is the toroidal system, which is the main containment system and gives the plasma the donut shape. The next system is the poloidal system, which helps shape and position the plasma near the inner wall. This is to help compress the plasma for more reactions to occur. Lastly, the central solenoid drives the direction of the plasma, spinning the plasma in a circle.
That's
Do rozsáhlých
really
bitev bezplatné
nah,
online
I
akční
hate
hry.
this. It's like
In contrast,
English must be
stellar radars
cooler.
combine all 3 magnetic systems into one using a 3D design, making them significantly more complicated.
Okay.
To some extent, the magnetic field is a relatively solved problem. There are no doubt refinements to be made in the form of the field, and definitely in the generation of the field with new superconductor technology. That's something we can come back to another time. Currently, one of the biggest engineering and research challenges in fusion is how to build the
What's it
actual
done?
physical containment chamber for that
Oh,
field and the
jeez.
plasma it holds. How do we build a wall that can hold a mini sun? The magnetic field certainly helped by creating what's called a pedestal region, where the plasma is cooler and sparser relative to the middle where the fusion reactions are happening. This helps create a small buffer between the fusion plasma and the wall, so the material doesn't literally have to withstand contact with millions Kelvin plasmas, but it still has to do a lot. That wall is the first point of contact between the plasma and the outside wall, and we call the plasma-facing surface the first wall. While the magnetic field...
Wait, so in that case, if the actual problem should be the first wall, or am I stupid? Because like when there would be no first wall, then it should be like better. I just don't understand, but like I like
field
this.
keeps the highest temperature parts of the plasma out of direct contact with the wall, a lot of energetic particles do reach it, and the wall needs to withstand that. It then needs to take the heat generated by this incoming radiation and transport it to somewhere useful to actually generate power. Finally, as if all this wasn't enough, the chamber wall needs to create new fuel for fusion. Let's look at these one by one. Within the coiled ribbon of the millions of Kelvin plasma, heavy hydrogen nuclei collide and release energetic gamma rays and very fast-moving neutrons and helium nuclei. Those gamma rays and helium nuclei help keep the plasma hot. So hot it radiates X-rays. This thermal radiation bakes the outer wall of the chamber, and the wall has to very quickly conduct this heat to the cooling system or be at risk of melting. Even more energy is carried by the neutrons. These neutral particles are not affected by the magnetic field, and so they fly straight out of the plasma. They deposit kinetic energy into the wall, and this is the main source of heat energy from fusion. Some neutrons hit nuclei
it's lagging.
in the wall, potentially
It's lagging as fuck. Oh, 480p. I must be poor.
creating unstable isotopes. And some helium and hydrogen nuclei also end up with enough energy to escape the magnetic field and reach the first wall. Some of these are tritium nuclei, which are also highly unstable. As a result of the neutron and tritium bombardment, the wall becomes more radioactive over time. These impacts also erode the wall, with the wall's own nuclei getting smacked from the surface into the plasma chamber.
So if I understand it, the actual problem is really the first wall. So if it could sustain the heat and this kind of shit, it could work much better. So
In an effect called sputtering. This degrades the shielding over time and also contaminates the plasma. Finally, an imperfect wall structure can lead to runaway instabilities in the plasma called edge localization modes. These can result in localized failures of the magnetic confinement and to large amounts of energy being dumped into the wall, which is not good for the wall. This can also trigger larger magnetohydrodynamic.
So, he just started by explaining how good it is to have fusion, and now he's explaining how bad it is. I don't understand that.
Instabilities in the plasma, causing the plasma to shed a lot of energy and potentially kill
Sorry to PBS, but those guys are crazy.
the fusion reaction. Assuming our wall can survive the above, the heat generated within the wall will be carried away by some working fluid. Water is a popular choice, but also molten salts and even lithium. The working fluid both cools the wall and heats the fluid to the point that it can turn a generator. Okay, so we've just generated electricity. Nice.
Yes! We just did it. At the same time I said okay and settled. Yay, yay, yay. I'm happy.
But even if we got more power out than we used to create our plasma, this process is not sustainable. The deuterium part of the fuel is enormously abundant. There are 33 grams per cubic meter of seawater, which means it's basically limitless. But the tritium is not abundant. It has a half-life of 12 years and so is almost non-existent naturally.
Okay.
The reactor has to make its own tritium. That's not super complicated. Hit a lithium nucleus with a neutron and it'll split into two nuclei. So the trick is to place a layer of lithium behind the first wall. That wall will slow neutrons from the fusion reaction, extracting some of their energy, and the neutrons will then hit the lithium and breed tritium. Obviously the lithium has to be replaced, but fortunately lithium is moderately abundant with thousands of years worth in the ground and millions of years worth in the ocean. One major issue with this is that the fusion reaction
That's so fucking cool. From now on I'm just gonna do this shit all my day. I'm just gonna get the tritium and then I'm gonna just get everything and I'm gonna build my small reactor at home. I would go to the jail, like my parents, but yippee!
doesn't produce enough neutrons to breed a sustainable amount of tritium. To deal with this, a neutron multiplier is needed.
This is your brain when you're struggling to focus.
I don't care.
This is a layer of material that amplifies the neutron flux. One neutron goes in and two come out to feed the tritium breeder. That way the fusion reaction replaces the tritium it uses. So, now that we know all the miracles that the reactor wall has to pull off, let's look at options for materials. The most traditional pick for a fusion reactor first wall is the metal tungsten. It's metal, so
Wait,
it's struck.
tungsten, I know that. It's the world's okay, but I don't have money for tungsten, but it's the world's heaviest metal, I think.
Naturally strong, and it has the highest melting temperature of all metals, so it can stay solid under heavy bombardment. It's also less inclined to hold onto as many of the radioactive tritium as other materials.
Okay.
And very importantly, it has a low sputtering rate, fewer tungsten nuclei ejected into the plasma. However, it does have a major weakness with regard to sputtering, in that those tungsten atoms that do join the plasma have a pretty unfortunate effect. Tungsten has 74 protons in the nucleus compared to hydrogen's 1 proton. That means tungsten's electrons are much more strongly bound. So, while the plasma's hydrogen is fully ionized, liberated of electrons,
Okay.
the tungsten atom will retain 20 or 30 electrons.
My brain is using all its 5 cells. More likely, I have like 20 cells and 10 of them is for Minecraft and 5 is for school, and that another 5 is that 4 is for movement, and I'm not moving, so I can use instead of 1 I can use 5. Yeah, I could just do the shitting sound here. Okay.
even when inside the plasma.
I haven't shit in my head.
So now, when a tungsten atom bumps into another particle in the plasma, some of the energy of the collision goes into exciting one of those electrons. That electron then drops back to a de-excited state, emitting a photon in the process. And that photon then escapes the plasma, taking that energy with it. The larger the atomic number of the atom, the more electrons it can retain in the plasma, and also the smaller the energy gap between electron levels. That
Okay,
means
so it's
more
just
opportunity.
going to be like a shit, and it's just gonna make everyone blind. Wait, where is it?
Opportunities to
Where is it? European, what is it called? European Earth was made. I just don't understand this shit. European nuclear European nuclear society. I don't know if it was that, then where? In France? I don't know. Belgium. Okay, then I should be chill.
to absorb energy from the plasma
What is
and
this
radiate
shit?
it away. This effect is called line emission cooling, and it's a great way to lose a lot of energy from your plasma very quickly. Even a little bit of a heavy element like tungsten in the plasma can make it very difficult to keep it hot enough to sustain fusion. Tungsten has major advantages, but the issue with pollution of the plasma was enough to convince the ITER team to try something different, at least to start with. In fact, they plan to go in the opposite direction to tungsten in terms of location on the periodic table by using beryllium for the plasma-facing wall. Beryllium is the fourth element on the periodic table, so even though it will end up polluting the plasma, those contaminants tend to be completely ionized. There are very, very few electrons left to radiate away the plasma's heat. In fact, beryllium actually removes pollutants. It can capture oxygen impurities, which themselves are released from oxidized metals in the vessel wall when the machine is running. Oxygen in the plasma can cause the plasma to cool just like tungsten. Beryllium has other major benefits. It has extremely high thermal conductivity, allowing it to quickly transfer heat from the front plasma-facing surface to the back surface with the
Okay.
cooling systems. And one of the most compelling benefits of beryllium is that it acts as a neutron multiplier, doubling the neutrons available for tritium breeding. So, what's the downside? Well, beryllium does have a much higher sputtering rate than tungsten, and even though the ejected impurities don't harm the plasma as much, this does mean the beryllium surface erodes much more quickly than tungsten, and that means the wall needs to be replaced more often. Also, fluctuations in the plasma will induce electrical currents in the beryllium wall, and those currents experience massive
Okay, but
forces in the...
Beryllium shouldn't be rare. How rare is beryllium? How rare is very fuck. Okay, that's pretty bad. If it's very rare. Okay, it's beryllium. Yes, highly expensive. Was the rarest element. I know it. It's mendelevium. Oh no. Oh, it's naturally. but then it should be well, mendelevium. How rare is mendelevium? Mendelevium is fucking, or I don't know what it's called. I think it's incredibly rare. Few attempts, yes. Okay. 51 days. Few seconds. Okay, makes sense.
The strong magnetic field, this can damage the wall and even cause it to fail while the reactor is running. And a huge disadvantage of beryllium is that it's extremely toxic. Erosion of the wall fills the reaction chamber with beryllium dust, which cannot under any circumstances be allowed to get out of the reactor if you want to keep your nuclear engineers operational. Finally, beryllium is super rare. ITER would need 12 tons of the stuff for the first wall. ITER had originally planned a beryllium first wall, but just in 2023 they decided that the hassles outweighed the benefits and shifted their plan back to good old tungsten. This is a pretty safe choice for ITER as an experimental facility, but for commercial fusion, some kind of neutron multiplier feeding the tritium breeder is needed, and ITER is currently testing various options. So, we still have the problem of tungsten polluting the plasma. There are other options for the plasma-facing surface though. Boron is currently getting the most attention from the ITER crew since it's the next lightest element after beryllium. The idea is to build a tungsten wall and then sprinkle a little bit of boron powder into the reactor while it's running. This should then evaporate and coat the wall, reducing the amount of tungsten that cooks off into the plasma. Boron does have the icky side effect of retaining tritium, which means the inner wall could become dangerously radioactive over time. Meanwhile, going in the other direction on the periodic table from beryllium, we get lithium, which if you remember we were using to breed tritium behind the first wall. At first glance, lithium seems a non-starter for the plasma-facing wall because lithium metal has a melting point of 182 degrees Celsius. But who says the first wall really has to be solid? There's this idea to coat the reactor chamber in a layer of liquid lithium, which has many advantages. You can't really damage a liquid structurally. Seriously, go try hit a lake with a hammer and see what happens. Lithium nuclei would...
Okay. Okay. I'm just going to get a lake and... Okay. So that I don't have a webcam, but... I'll do that later.
End up in the plasma instead of the tungsten behind it. But this is actually good for the plasma. Getting plasmas up to fusion temperature requires physicists to add large amounts of energy, both with EM fields and with neutral beam injectors. Experiments like the lithium tokamak experiment beta at the Princeton Plasma Physics Lab suggests that a little bit of lithium in the plasma may help the plasma get to the temperature more easily.
Shit.
Get the global markets in the palm.
Hell no.
Finally, the lithium can even double as a coolant and the tritium breeder if it's moved through and behind the tungsten wall. As I said, ITER is supposed to produce its first plasma this year, but is projected to achieve its first fusion reaction in 2035, smashing two deuteriums together to produce helium-3. Now, its first commercial-grade deuterium-tritium fusion reaction is slated for 2039. If all that works, then I guess we build a lot of them. But it's also possible that one of the many smaller enterprises will beat ITER, They certainly talk a big game, with some projecting first fusion in the next few years. But that's a story for another episode. Personally, I don't care who wins. I just want my infinite free energy so I can train a godlike LLM to take over writing space-time. Thank you to Radiocode for supporting PBS. If you're looking for a new science-based hobby, Radiocode is a gadget that's made for all natural science enthusiasts. Radiocode is a portable radiation detector that collects data fast. Now you can not only quickly locate the source of radiation, but also identify which isotopes are present, such as cesium-137, thorium-232, radium-226, and many others. The multifunctional app included with the device works on iOS or Android and makes it easier to explore and research by allowing you to record radioactive GPS tracks on maps, keep a measurement log, analyze spectra, create charts, and build spectrograms. You can learn more about Radiocode by following the link in the description and the pinned comment below. Use promo code PBS to get an exclusive 10% discount. Hey everyone, before we go, we want to let you know we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Space Shuttle.
PBS. I'm gonna search for PBS. Wait, why do PBS? It's this space-time has more.
Thank you to
subscribers
Radiocode
than
for
this.
supporting PBS. They say fusion is 50 years away, and they've been saying that for...
No. Okay, GD.
How much did Doggy actually nerf Grief? According to Doggy's log of every nerf he made to Grief, all of them were nerfed by only 1/60th of a block, which is the smallest increment you can move blocks in the game. But how much easier does this really make the level? Let's take the infamous 80% release as an example. This visual shows every physics step the game takes in the wave game mode at 4x speed. The red represents the first release frame, the green represents the second released frame, and the yellow represents the third. As you can see, this timing has a 2-frame window, as you just barely die on the third frame. However, if I nerf this the exact same way Doggy did, by moving this up 1 micro step, it actually gives you that extra frame, and you can survive. However, this is only the case if your player is aligned in a very particular way, which is unpredictable. In most alignment cases, that micro step will not give you an extra frame. But with the addition to CBF in the game, we don't have to rely on frame steps anymore. So on CBF, that micro step will always matter. So how much extra leeway does 1/60th of a block give you with CBF on? Well, we know that this length represents the extra leeway you're giving by a micro step nerf. We just need to figure out what the value is by comparing it to the length of something we already know, which is the distance between the ends of each frame step, being 1/240th of a second. If we compare these two lengths, we find that x is approximately 1/10 of the known length, giving us a value of 1/2400th of a second, or about 0.4.
This tree grows granite. You see, this is a sandbox tree, native to South America, and before we even address the frag grenade...
Hey man, I got all my PC parts, so what order do I install them in? All right, relax. We build every Meta PC system the exact same way. 3 phases.
To do is to be. To be is to do. To do is to be.
Platíte za internet víc než 100.
Steven,
I found this in the house. This reminds me of when I walk uphill. Okay, I have to ask you this time. How do you walk uphill both ways? Oh, back in my day, physics wasn't invented yet. Show me what you got. What am I supposed to do? You sing the Bruce Lee movie. Yeah? Good. What you do if Timmy took your bubble tea? I probably want that back. Oh my god, did I just do that? Stupid. Your father was the best Sorry, just a mistake. The bird fly bite, you know, the atmosphere not as strong as China.
Totally.
You know,
Atmospheric pressure, man.
Aerodynamic off.
Oh, you sure?
Magnetic field off today.
Oh yeah,
it's just a small
tiny little mistake. Right, just like how I got C in maths this week.
What the hell you say? You tell me you get the C. You don't know C stand for the failure. I want your ass into Monday. What's up? Let's go.
How difficult is it to create this viral video? It looks like someone's fighting a wither with a mace. But then why is he spam clicking? Because this is a challenge by Dubious Duckling where you must cross 200 blocks in the craziest way possible. So he's dealing less damage on purpose. In fact, he's trying to heal the Wither mid-air with splash potions of harming. As you know, they heal the undead. But he's running out of them quickly. You would think it doesn't get any crazier. One more potion and that's it, right? But he has a full inventory of potions that he's switching mid-air while timing the mace hits. How could he even recreate that? That is insane. But this is not even the hard part. Notice that he still hasn't used the spear in the first inventory slot. His plan is to glitch the spear's cooldown by switching between the slots within 0.05 seconds. If he can pull it off, I'm definitely subscribing. Well, literally above the clouds. Don't forget, he still needs to land a water bucket clutch. Here we go. It all comes down to this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How is she so good? That's insane. 8. Water. Wow. Yeah, that's easy. I rebuild the set block for block with a simple code that resets everything in one command. From sorting my inventory, teleporting, restoring hunger, even tracking my deaths. Surely it won't be that much. But before I even start trying, I upload the map for you in my Discord link in bio. But as soon as I start playing, I notice a problem. Potions of harming harm me. So how am I supposed to heal the Wither if I literally die from them? But after watching the video, I realized this guy has enchantments. I don't know which ones yet, but after interviewing my friends, Noah, you're about to get hit with splash potions of harming too. Which enchantments though would you like to have?
Just regular protection, I think.
So now I am ready to aura farm, or so I thought. Cause no matter what I did, I just kept peeking around 50 blocks, not even close to 200. Not only am I still taking too much damage from the harming potions, but I've never done attribute swapping, so after killing the Wither, I'm just falling straight down Undertale style. But after 256 resets, I realized something weird about the original clip that changes everything. If we go all the way back, even before the start, we can see his setup for the run. At first, we just see that he is using a splash potion of regeneration, which I completely missed. But that's not the weird thing. The skin. This is a skin that I use to hide my identity when I'm showing how difficult is it to recreate the spiral video.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Hey, that's pretty good.
This is a load of barnacle. I don't want peace. I want problems, always!
Ugh. Brother, ugh. It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
I mean, it's alright, like...
Hey.
Okay, I think that this should be enough.